Thank you for joining us today. My name is Peter Lindbergh from Marin Software. We are pleased to have Facebook join us for today's webinar entitled, Are You Maximizing Your ROI on Facebook? Whether you are still on the sidelines or an active Facebook advertiser, today's content will help you become a smarter marketer. I'm confident saying that because it's safe to say we have two digital advertising heavyweights presenting today. Plus, looking at our attendee list, we also have many of the world's most sophisticated brands and agencies on the call as well. Facebook has more than 1.1 billion monthly active users around the world. That's more active users than there were human beings on the planet a mere 200 years ago. And Marin just announced we have more than $5 billion of ad spend managed on our platform globally. Marin supports search, display, and mobile advertising, and many publishers like Bing, Baidu, Google, and Yahoo. But the interest we've recently seen for Facebook is remarkable. The increases in Facebook spend and Facebook results, especially for performance marketers, are significant. With that, I'll introduce our presenters. Jeremy Downs is a partnership manager at Facebook. He works on the preferred marketing developer team, which Marin is a member. Jeremy oversees a number of strategic partnerships. He's been at Facebook for 3.5 years, where he spent time working on a number of initiatives, including mobile app install ads. And prior to Facebook, Jeremy spent a couple of years working for a mobile device startup and 7 years at PayPal. Anil Channappa is Director of Product Management at Marin. He has been with Marin for 1.5 years and manages Marin's Facebook product strategy and product development. Anil is passionate about Facebook advertising, as you'll see, and has been the driving force behind many of our platform's recent enhancements. Today's discussion will focus on helping you maximize your Facebook ROI and pinpoint the most effective advertising and optimization strategies to drive results against your social and financial objectives. We'll close out today's webinar with your questions. With that, I'm pleased to turn it over to Jeremy and Anil.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, so I think Jeremy's going to kick off today.
Thanks for the introduction, Peter. I think we're, here we go. Okay, hopefully we're coming across loud and clear and everyone can see our screen. I'm joined here today with Zorn Martinovich as well. Zorn and I, as Peter mentioned, work really closely with Marin. We're in essentially a small closet here in our headquarters, Facebook headquarters in Menlo Park, California, and it always feels a little strange to be speaking to dozens, if not a few hundred of you out there. But thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. As Peter mentioned, my name is Jeremy Downs, and I work on the partnership team here at Facebook, where I spend time with a number of our key preferred marketing developers, again, of which Marin is one of. I'm excited to have this opportunity to speak with you all. I know that for many of you, successful direct response or performance marketing is one of the keys of your business. And in truth, Facebook hasn't always been aligned with you here. In the early days, marketers wanted to be on Facebook because it was the shiny new thing. But I'm hoping that among a few things you take away today, that this has changed. And that one is that we have come a long way as it relates to direct response marketing. We now have better products for marketers and do a better job of organizing them so that they can keep coming back to Facebook. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I want to do 3 things. First, set the table for how we think about marketing on Facebook. Second, give a quick summary of the products we've launched and the best practices around making them work for direct response purposes. And then finally, share with you a handful of success stories. But before I talk about Facebook, I want to thank Anil Channappa and the Marin team for inviting Facebook to participate in this webinar. We truly appreciate the opportunity.
Jeremy?
So let's dive into things and chat about Facebook for business messaging. Over the past few years, as we have worked with our clients, likely a number of you on the phone here, we thought we were showcasing how social we are. But after doing more research, we learned we weren't doing a very good job of it. Although we were labeled as a social network, people thought of us as cold and technical. Hence the fun microchip image here. We're attempting to change that. At the end of the day, we believe Facebook is all about people. Facebook represents an opportunity for all of you to reach all of the people who matter to you. We have targeted reach, deep engagement, and proven results. Our end goal is to provide all of you with a solution that you are already familiar with in an environment that delivers unparalleled results. So as a marketer, what do you care about? We believe it's the same thing. We believe that it's people. People walk into stores, people buy things from your website, people sign up for your offer. And Facebook can help you reach all the people that matter to you. The story here is about targeted reach, a reach of 1.15 billion people that is unparalleled in size with precision targeting as well. This allows you to expose your message broadly, but also to the specific individuals you care about. The opportunity is extremely exciting and extends far beyond the world of fan acquisition.
Jeremy, this is Peter Lindbergh. Sorry to interrupt. The voice quality isn't so good. I'm wondering if you can get off speakerphone, maybe pick up the handset. Is
that better?
I think that is better.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Try and do this all with two hands here. So, not only can we help you reach all the people that matter to you, but these people are highly engaged across all devices every day around the world. To build on this is the latest ComScore data on time spent on desktop and mobile devices in the U.S. during the month of July. These figures represent the number of minutes a user spends on the corresponding site per day. Facebook represents 11% of all time spent on desktop, and Facebook, together with Instagram, represent 21% of total time spent on a mobile device. All the people who matter to you every day, everywhere. Which brings us to the opportunity all of us should be excited about. Facebook is now one of the most efficient marketing platforms in the world. This isn't a big pivot, it's a natural evolution. The world we live in and Facebook has evolved in the last decade. Social media has become so widely adopted, it's changed how people receive and share all kinds of information. From personal updates to breaking news, people use Facebook to connect with the people and businesses that matter to them. So now that we've spent a minute or two on the big picture, that Facebook represents all the people who matter to you, let's focus in on how to realize this opportunity. If you remember, almost 10 years ago when AdWords launched, e-commerce was a small portion of the total sales volume. People mostly walked into a store to buy clothes, home goods, electronics, or other products, and made phone calls to apply for credit cards, insurance, or loan. Today, in many categories, e-commerce sales constitute a substantial portion of a company's overall sales volume. The good news is that digital sales are projected to keep growing in the near future. People continue to spend more time online and feel more comfortable than ever to transact online. So we need the ability more than ever to reach these people at scale and influence them. Digital today is not only a viable sales channel, but a strategic, reliable, scalable, and profitable channel to grow revenue for most businesses. Much of that growth has been driven by search, which today serves as an anchor for most direct digital marketing activity. Needless to say, that growth is also the result of hard work of the folks in the room, for which we are all very grateful. The question then is, why do we need anything else? Search works and works well, so why look anywhere else? Well, search is competitive. The lowest hanging fruit is gone, pricing is high, and for many of the clients we speak with, the marginal dollar on search is not as efficient. Over the past 4 quarters, the cost per click on desktop has risen by almost 20%. Make no mistake, search is still an important and efficient channel for acquisitions and will continue to be so. However, marketers like yourself need to also look elsewhere to find new sources of customers and revenue. So how can Facebook help direct marketers address this challenge? As I mentioned before, we now offer solutions that are far more familiar to all of you that open up the 1.15 billion person reach opportunity and allows you to target these people to find ones interested in sports, financial services, real estate, retail, autos, and so on. So how does one go about doing this? Facebook offers many products and features, and we've grouped these into 4 levers that form a comprehensive framework for how to think about direct response on Facebook. These 4 levers, placement, ad format, targeting, and optimization, can improve performance in your campaigns and help you achieve your objective of lowering cost per acquisition or increasing return on ad spend. Measurement underlies these levers. If you can't measure the impact, you won't know what's working for your business. Let's dive deeper into a set of best practices and discuss which lever you should pull based on your campaign objectives. Here are the simple set of best practices I want to cover today. First, move away from right-hand side ads to newsfeed placement. Second, focus on reaching your best customers and discovering new ones. And finally, optimize with intelligent bidding. Anil will cover off in more detail in a bit how Marin can help here, but let's spend a couple quick minutes on why each of these are important and some success stories. First, newsfeed. Facebook provides marketers with a visual canvas to truly market your products. One of the things we have heard from marketers for a long time is that the challenge of replicating the visual oomph you can get in a catalog or other print media on digital. As the internet has become a more visual platform, Facebook has evolved to provide a rich visual experience for our users. For example, let's take a look at a really good advertisement in newsfeed on a desktop or smartphone. As you can see, the ad takes up nearly the entire screen. Compare that to the typical banner or text ad you get on most platforms. And also keep in mind that because Facebook is an inherently visual, image-driven place, your images fit naturally and organically into people's news feeds. And we continue to optimize the experience here to drive results for our marketers. As an example, we recently increased the size of the image in our page post link ad to improve performance as well as to more closely resemble other ad units on the site. As expected, this visual ability to showcase your products is showing up in the actual conversion rates we are seeing in newsfeed. For example, Pesce Urbano, a large Latin American daily deals site, saw 5 times higher return on investment when they moved their marketing campaigns into the newsfeed. And Jack Threads, an e-commerce site, is achieving 3 times higher conversion rates in newsfeed compared to right-hand side. Now, let's move on to the second best practice, leveraging custom audiences and lookalike audiences to reach your existing and new customers. One aspect of Facebook audiences that is particularly compelling is that they are far more accurate than any other digital channel because they are based on real identity. According to Nielsen, using age and demographic targeting alone, Facebook is 90% accurate compared to an online average of 50%. What that means is that for every dollar you spend, you save 44 cents by just more accurate targeting. So if you combine those two things together, it means that most of your prospective and existing customers are on Facebook. And over the past 12 months, we have enabled many new capabilities to reach them more effectively. In particular, I want to call out 3 new solutions that are helping direct marketers better target on Facebook. But before I do that, I want to mention that each product here was a result of the feedback we heard from the market, from many of you. This goes back to the story I mentioned at the start about how we are evolving, getting better at listening, and building products that you need. For example, we heard that while we are driving many people to the marketer's website, only a few complete the transaction. So we enabled the ability to retarget those who did not via Facebook Exchange. Next, we learned that many marketers had extensive email or phone databases of their own customers, and they wanted an easy way to reach their customers on Facebook so they can cross or upsell them with new products. So we launched custom audiences, which allow you to do just that. As our clients saw success with custom audiences, they requested the ability to reach not only their customers, but new prospects who look like their customers. So we then launched Lookalike Audiences, which makes it really easy for marketers to target prospects by letting our engines see who converts and find people who look much like them. This is just the beginning. We are keen to hear from you and build new and better tools to make you successful. As I mentioned before, the power of Facebook targeting is unparalleled reach and real people. Let's dive deeper into the 3 distinct offerings this robust data powers. First, standard audiences, which includes things like demo, geo, lifestyle, purchase-based intent, etc. All of this information is derived from the information our users share in their profile and behaviors they exhibit on our platform. Next up is custom audiences, which is comprised of your CRM and customer lists. And then finally, we have modeled audiences or lookalike audiences, where sophisticated science and modeling are used to identify audiences that look like your best customers. Let's take a look at Facebook's set of standard audiences. These targetable audiences are quote-unquote on the shelf and based on proprietary Facebook data and data from trusted third-party sources. Today, there are about 120 broad categories, and we're expanding this to more than 500 in the near future. These clusters are a cross-section of likes, keywords, and aggregated clicks on ads, and the quality of these categories are maintained by machine learning algorithms to understand how topics are related and are validated through click-through rate measurement and user surveys. We recognize that you may have proprietary data that is specific to your customers. This is where custom audiences come into play. With custom audiences, we provide the ability to use that information to reach those specific groups on Facebook. There are two options today that support this. First is a self-service model where you can work directly with Facebook or Marin to match users via phone or email. This capability is available worldwide, and we're seeing high accurate match rates north of 60%. The second is a managed service where we employ the services of a trusted third party who may host and/or process customer data on your behalf. This expanded match functionality, available only in the US today, leverages the user's name, postal address, email, phone, and demo to drive this match rate even higher. And finally, Facebook's modeled audience offering can help you find people who look like your best customers. You can sometimes hear it referred to as quote-unquote lookalike modeling. Leveraging Facebook data, we look at millions of attributes for prediction to prospect and expand your audience. The real power here is we combine custom audience data with Facebook's robust user data to help you find your best new customers you previously didn't know existed. So let's hear about some of this new functionality and how it's working. I mentioned earlier how the Facebook Exchange allows you to retarget the customers who visited your site but failed to convert. Facebook Exchange is fast growing into one of the most efficient retargeting channels on the internet. Leading demand-side platforms, or DSPs, are not only improving conversion rates by using FBX, Facebook Exchange, as you can see by some of the results and quotes here, but reaching people they might not have otherwise reached. And for custom audiences and lookalike audiences, Fab.com saw a 10x increase in conversions when leveraging custom and lookalike audiences compared to standard targeting. And ArtFinder saw a 75% increase in subscribers and a 50% decrease in cost per acquisition. For the final best practice, I'll let Anil cover off on how Marin can assist with the intelligent bidding optimization, but I do want to make one point on measurement. We now provide full tracking and measurement capabilities to direct marketers to measure based on the attribution model that you're used to, whether it is last click, last view, or a multi-touch approach. Obviously, we believe the last click model does not fully capture the true impact of an impression, but we also understand that transitioning to a multi-touch view-based model takes time, and we are keen to work with you on that together. We're currently in the process of conducting some research on the impact Facebook drives when a multi-touch attribution model is in place. So please reach out to your Marin rep if you're interested in learning more. Before I turn it over to Anil, let me propose one additional model that has worked for our clients that have embraced direct response on Facebook. Most performance marketers are used to the idea of testing before scaling. However, many advertisers don't do the right prep work. Going through a robust process to prepare and diagnose your performance marketing plan is particularly important since many of the tools are new. The good news is all of you on the webinar here have taken care of one of the early hurdles, building a partnership with a preferred marketing developer, or PMD. With the relationship with Marin in place and their tools to help and remove some of the friction along the way, everyone here is in a great place to start testing, iterating, and scaling their direct response spend on Facebook. There's a big opportunity to do this today in the run-up to Q4 and the holidays. So if there's anything Facebook or Marin can do to help here, please do not hesitate to ask. I'd like to close with some thoughts on how we think about our product roadmap. Hopefully you were able to tease this message out, but Facebook is focused on building products that drive real business results, real traffic into stores, real sales, real mobile app installs. We are enhancing our targeting, working on driving even deeper engagement, and of course, proving results, because without proof, none of it really matters. And as a foundation to all of the product work, we are also working to improve quality and simplify our offering. We're working on condensing the 25 plus different ad types down to a much more manageable amount, and you'll start to see the early efforts here show up in the Marin tool shortly. So please, be open and honest with your Facebook and Marin representatives around what is and what is not working. So thanks again for the time. I'll let Anil take it from here, and I'm looking forward to opening the webinar up for Q&A shortly.
Thank you, Jeremy. I just want to remind attendees today, you can ask a question at any time throughout the session. Use the question feature and go to webinar, and we'll address those questions at the end. Now I'm going to hand it over to Anil as we switch presenters here, and he's going to talk about how Marin can help you optimize your advertising on Facebook. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy, and thanks for everyone for joining the call. We've been working a lot on improving the product, but I just wanted to thank all the work that Facebook has done in trying to bring the innovations that make a difference to all the marketers who have been focused on the channel. Especially, I've been looking at this for about a year and a half. If I looked at it last year, it was mainly focused on how to make things simpler, because there were so many things complex about Facebook, whether you think about targeting options or ad formats, and kudos to the Facebook team to have realized that, and there's a lot of simplification going on. But even more than that, stepping out and focusing on real business outcomes. So I think focusing on performance and driving those results has made the platform much more viable. Across the board, when I see customers that I've been talking to on a general basis, because we have a clear sense of what their search marketing budgets are, but increasingly what I'm seeing is across the board, Facebook budgets have started anywhere from about 10%, and I've seen as much as 30 to 40% of the search budget. So depending on what kind of business you're in and what kind of results you're able to deliver, I think there's a significant amount of opportunity that comes along with it. And this is where I'm really excited about some of the new innovations, whether it is in the form of custom audience targeting, partner categories, or even the most important of all is just the performance of newsfeed. So the comparison or the analogies that I draw between the search and the Facebook side of the world is the way search results are so core and key to search marketing, where it drives a lot of results because you have keywords as an intent. On Facebook, you're seeing similar results when you start to focus on the newsfeed. And that's where it's pretty important for us to start to move away from the right-hand side ads, which tends to be like banner ads to the edge, versus newsfeed, which becomes core and important to every interface that Facebook offers, including mobile. With that, we've done a lot of innovations within the product itself, because I think there's more room for us to add value over and above what Facebook offers in their native tools, which is fantastic. But what I wanted to take an opportunity in the next probably 10 to 15 minutes is walk through a lot of these different options. But I'm sure I'm going to run through this pretty fast. But if you guys have questions towards the end, we'll try and answer them. But if not, please reach out to your AM or OMM, and we can always come back and have a separate conversation with you guys. Having said that, it's very important to understand, one of the core things that I've noticed, which is very, very important when it comes to Facebook, is Facebook is a very visual platform. Getting the right message, focusing on the right audience, and knowing what your objectives are extremely critical in delivering those performances. So we'll work through a lot of different ways in which you can achieve that. So to begin with, what I'm going to focus on is, I think within Marin, depending on what you're interested in, is analytics and reporting is an extremely powerful infrastructure that Marin has built over the years. So knowing what your goals are, whether it is purely in terms of performance. Think about whether you're a lead gen marketer or a retailer where you're trying to drive some performance out of your products or services that you have to offer, knowing that is your goal and mapping them to the right conversions that Facebook offers, as well as the conversions that you define and identify what the success criteria are extremely important. So the same thing is true, but Facebook is a very versatile platform, right? You don't have to be limited to only focus on performance marketing, but then when you combine that with how do you engage with your clients. So in the past, email was a great way for people to interact with customers, but Facebook gives you an interactive channel. So as you work with them, whether in the form of fan acquisition or continuous engagement with your customers to try to keep the message or the product promotion going is extremely critical and can have a lift into your direct performance marketing goals as well. And you don't have to just limit to fan engagement, but it also could be launching new products. So if you are in the auto business and you think about launching new products, it doesn't have to be auto, but this is an example. This is a great opportunity to get your brand and your message out in front of a lot of people very, very quickly. And the viral component of Facebook makes it even more interesting and viable. So irrespective of what your goals are, what we've done within Marin is we've taken the same analytics and reporting infrastructure that you guys are all used to from a search perspective, but we've amplified that and made it extremely easy to work with in the context of Facebook. So whether, as you can see, the view builder has now been enhanced, and all the conversions, whether you're looking at engagement-driven campaigns or off-site related campaigns where you're trying to drive performance, all the conversion metrics are available right within View Builder, and they're easily categorized. And you'll notice that we bring in both view-through and click-through conversions. So you'd be able to easily track and see how your campaigns are performing, and make decisions based on that. And the good thing is, unlike search where pretty much all the data comes in once a day, we understand Facebook, things change quite a lot. It depends on what the current trend on the social marketing network is, and can things change quite fast. So what we've done is we've also incorporated intraday refresh of all your data. And so depending on how your network is set up, we can easily have all these data be available every hour. So I think this is a great opportunity to take advantage of this, see what is going on, and make the right decisions from an analytic perspective. A lot of this is done through your onboarding process, so tracking and making sure that you're getting the right revenue metrics in place. So this is all mostly done during your onboarding or setup process. But the good thing to understand is all the capabilities that you guys are used to from a search perspective almost exactly translates to Facebook. So the URL builder setup works for all the different ad types. Under the hoods, every ad is different. Some ads have URLs, some ads have special tags that need to be set up in the creatives. What you would end up manually setting up in some of the tools, it's automatically automated through URL builder. So if you configure that, then we're automatically tagging all your URLs for ads, whether they're created in Facebook or through Marin. So we support full bidirectional sync, and everything is pre-configured for you guys and not have to worry about it. To back that up, we also have all the conversion or the tracking solutions in place, whether you choose to use Tracker, Google Analytics, Omniture, Atlas, or even Facebook Conversion Pixel. So whatever is because they all have different benefits. So depending on what is the right fit for your business, you're free to look at whatever makes sense. Marin believes in an open stack, and this is our promise to deliver on that, and it's true for Facebook as well. And it doesn't just stop at tracking, but you can also bring in all the revenue sources that you get to start to see a holistic view of what's happening with your campaigns. So you would see how many conversions it's been driven, what is the overall cost, and eventually see the revenue that your campaigns are driving. So the third component that I wanted to focus on, and this is where I've heard from customers that they spend a lot of time in, is the management of campaigns. Within Facebook, the complexity increases because then you have so many targeting options. Again, creatives have a visual component, and all of these different variations introduces more complexity in terms of how much time one would have to invest in managing these campaigns. So our goal within Marin has been our users, like all of you guys, we consider you as power users. But our goal is we want to offer you guys a very simple, easy to use tool, but yet powerful so that it's flexible and extensible to your needs. So we've incorporated a bunch tools and capabilities in the product, all the way from how you integrate all your different accounts into a single client account in Marin, or if you're a large organization where you have different departments and you might have multiple client IDs in Marin, but then we have this cross-client view and capabilities that render across all of these different client accounts. So all of the functionality that you guys are exposed to from a search perspective is fully available within Facebook as well. In addition, we've also rolled out bulk sheets, all ad types, all targeting options, fully available for Facebook. But in addition, we also have a more easy-to-use editor view of managing these campaigns. I'm just going to quickly walk through that. But obviously, all the multi-edits, the copies, and all the things that you would need to ease up and go through the day much more quicker is all available within Marin. So I just wanted to take a quick moment. So if you guys have not seen a demo of the wizard, I would highly recommend reach out to your OMM and we can just run you through a demo. But at a very, very high level, the way to think about it is the wizard it's a simplified version of your bulk sheet. So there's a lot of things that can go into creating your bulk sheet. It can be error prone, and then you would end up doing a lot of things which the tool can obviously do it on your behalf. As an example, the simple process is you start to think about who your target is. That's what we define as an audience. We have a library for the audience, so you can name it what it is to and reuse them as you see fit. So once you figure out what the right target for your campaign is, you can easily then move on to all the different creatives that you want to run with. Here's an example of how you can create all the unpublished page posts. So unpublished page posts is another nugget or an innovation within Facebook that allows you to run ads on the news feed but doesn't have to affect your brand page on Facebook. So you'll be able to create all these posts and attach it to an ad and layer in all the different targeting options. One of the great things within Marin is by entering a few different variations, whether it is your body of the message, the link if you want to redirect offsite, or certain images, we can create all the different combinations all within the wizard, which if you were to use a bulk sheet, you would end up creating manually one by one. In addition, we can support both new post creations as well as if you want to target existing posts as well. And you'll see that the whole experience is very visual. You will see the preview of the ads. You get a choice to decide which ones actually make sense. And if you see certain combinations that don't make sense, you can take them out of the creative mix itself. And also, this is a very important piece when it thinks about campaign management, is to understand what are some of the best practices around managing your campaigns itself. For example, if you have a campaign and you have creatives that are not all targeting the same target audience, then your performance can be affected and your reach can be affected. So one of the best practices is always try to create a campaign and only have creatives that target a single target audience. So what we've done in the product itself is, as you'll notice, that we have options that makes it extremely easy. So in the past, when you selected a template, if you said, here are my 3 templates, create these 20 different ads, we'll group them all in such a way that will not mix targets in a single campaign. So that becomes extremely efficient. Another recommendation from Facebook based on experience is if you put too many ads in a single campaign, again, a few of them will get a good distribution and the rest of them could suffer in terms of volume. But how do you control or manage that? So we have controls in place which let you define how many ads would go into a single campaign. Right? So that makes it extremely easy, not having to manually look through each campaign and work through the different creative mix. It's all kind of taken care of. So there's a bunch of information we've rolled in, and obviously I don't want to go through every single detail at this point in time, but it's something that you guys should all look into, and we should definitely keep talking about this. So then once we think about campaign management itself, then we need to start thinking about optimization techniques. So you've figured out or mastered the basic management of campaigns, and you're all good, and you've set up a right process. But now is what are some of the optimization techniques, and how do you extract the most of your campaigns? So recently, about a week or 2 weeks ago, I was working with one of the customer, and it's a big company, and they have there's a long lead time in terms of how long it would take for them to bring in new creatives. So they only had a limited set of creatives to work with, but the creative image sizes were smaller, the quality of the images were not that high, and because of that, their bids they had to bid a lot more to get the reach. So the creatives can have a huge impact in terms of how much you pay for it, because Facebook is a very visual platform. If you can work to get the right images with the right size, because it gives you so much of an exposure, especially on the news feed, it's worth that investment because you can save a lot of time. So what we've done within Marin itself is you may not clearly have an idea of which of these creatives are the right mix. So you can bring in more than one and be more aggressive. Think about getting as many creatives that you think might work without knowing which is the right fit. Put them all in a mix, and that's one more thing which we can do as part of the wizard is create all these different variations and let them run. Right? So we have tools which we have incorporated called creative rotation. So if you have a campaign and if you put in multiple creatives within a campaign, you can define a lot of creative rotation rules. So you can choose to have some kind of a distribution pattern. So the distribution could be based on performance. You could say if an ad performance goes down, switch the creative rotation creative from one to another, or it could be as simple as like a billboard. Think about where if you're watching a billboard and the ads keep changing a few seconds, the creative rotation is just like that. So you can throw in a bunch of creatives, and then we will cycle through them throughout the day, so your customers are not seeing the same ads over and over again and then have a negative impact on your brand. So this can increase the life of your campaign as well as avoid the fatigue, and obviously you can do creative rotation across these creatives to do A/B testing as well. Another thing that is important from an optimization perspective is to think about what is the right targeting mix that makes the most sense. As you can see, Jeremy covered some of these things about custom audiences, partner categories, and all of these different audiences that helps you narrow down who's the right audience you want to reach to. So as you can see, some of them are very broad. So you could say target everybody in the US. So you're going to get a lot of reach. But then it is not necessarily as focused, and probably a lot of people are targeting that broad audience. So it is about trying to find that the right fit and the right size for your business and your objectives, which is where you will start to extract the most value. So what we've done within Marin itself is rather than guess what those things are, we've given you the tools to, first of all, define what that audience library should look like. So you can start with a set that you think makes the most sense. And then we also provide tools that helps you break it down even more. So let's say you start with everybody in the US to begin with, and then you want to see, okay, I want to target men versus women and see how these things work out. There's an easy way to slice and dice them and see what those opportunities are. And I'd like to go back to what Jeremy said. It's very, very important when you're starting off a campaign, once you know your objectives, to go through some kind of a test process to understand where the opportunities are and then start to scale. So these are all the tools that helps you in terms of identifying what those opportunities within your campaigns and your audience segments are. And this is something is not unique to Facebook, but we've been talking all along with you guys on the concept of search. Bringing in your data will give you insights about your campaign and your performance. That's extremely critical. So the data that you're bringing in could be your own revenue. So sometimes it's not just enough to see number of clicks or just conversions. You want to see how much revenue your campaigns are driving towards. So all of those external data can still be brought into Marin that can eventually be used, whether it is for bid optimizations or pure analytics itself. So full support for integrating with your data is available for Facebook as well. And last important thing, and I'm trying to move this to the very last, not because it's not important, because I think these are all the different steps or things that we need to start to think about when you run Facebook campaigns, and bid optimization is one of those important criteria. So there's a lot of different pricing models available. Facebook offers the bidding algorithm, which is also called Optimize CPM, fully supported within Marin. For some campaigns, it works great, and I would highly recommend you guys to use it. But also, there's a lot of different options, whether you deal with cost per action. For example, if you're running a fan acquisition campaign, you may have a goal which says, I don't want to pay more than $2 per fan. So it's an easy way to not rather pay per click, but you can choose a cost per action and set that limit, and Facebook will make sure that you're not paying more than that. But obviously, like everything else, CPC is where Marin's bidding comes into picture. We can set the bids. It's a fully transparent system, very similar to what you have in search in the sense it is based on your financial goals. Whether your goal is to drive more conversions or drive leads or generate more revenue, so all of that can be still defined, and we can manage your campaign performance and set the bids based on those goals. So CPC is what, if you're most used to using, it's a great way to think about it. One recommendation I would make when you're using bidding for Facebook is Facebook, unlike search, tends to be extremely chatty. So in the beginning, run manual bids against new ads so that it collects some data, and then let bidding manage your future bids so that you can reach your performance goals. So it's extremely easy in terms of tools. We've provided tools which helps you define what the starting bid should be, whether we're looking at Facebook recommended bids for different targets. You can figure out if you are more comfortable starting at the low end of the bid range or the high end of the bid range. That's like a slider, so you can choose what's the right mix for you and then go from there. A few tips to think about when you're thinking about bidding itself. We highly recommend creating folders based on targets. That way you can isolate the performance of all the campaigns on a target and see how these things are performing. Obviously, your financial goals are equally important. If they are different for the same targets, recommend them splitting them up. Obviously, understand what your financial goal is, define them, and ensure that they've been fully monitored and measured based on that. And all the settings that you guys are used to from bidding in terms of how you can tweak and control what the impact is fully available and can be configured as part of that. And if you guys want to know more, we can definitely talk about it in a separate discussion. So we've had people use bidding and they've seen tremendous success. Whether you're looking for optimizing on your on-site conversions, whether it is like fan acquisition, fan promotions, people have used bidding and they're seeing good performance, as well as if you want to drive pure results on your website. For example, it could be lead gen, it could be conversions or purchases. So we've seen tremendous success, and if you guys are interested in understanding how to configure and work with it, again, we should talk more about that. The last thing I want to stop with, and then we can stop for questions, is Jeremy ended with talking about how it's important to think about the entire path rather than just looking at the last click. So we have what we call the path conversion reporting. It's currently available with Tracker, where we can track the source of your conversions. So whatever, this is a conversion pixel that stays on your website, and we're able to track what drives your conversions, what channels are driving your conversions, including paid and organic. So this would be giving you a holistic view of what's happening, what's driving those conversions, and helps you to start thinking about how to manage your budgets and where to allocate your budget more effectively. Because if you see performance in one or few channels that makes more sense, that's a clue to start thinking about those investments. Hopefully, I was talking breathless, and hopefully it made sense. But if you guys still have questions, I think this is a great time for us to look into them.
Great. Thank you, Anil. And we have received a lot of good questions, so I'm going to try to do my best to combine a few. The first one, this is for you, Jeremy. Question is, we love the audience targeting that Facebook provides, but the number of ad formats is frankly overwhelming. Are there any plans to simplify Facebook's ad formats?
Peter, it's like we planted this question. In short, yes. So, I mean, we've heard that feedback loud and clear. Again, I think currently there are something to the effect of 27 different ad types, a lot of which do similar or exact objectives. And we recognize that this is just completely overwhelming. And we are in the midst of a pretty extensive revamp of our ad system that is, the primary goal is to dramatically simplify these offerings down to a much more manageable number of units that are, very tailored toward driving specific objectives. So whether or not it's driving your users to your physical retail stores or, online e-commerce sales or mobile app install ads, it will be, a much more simplified, think of it as, a handful of ad units compared to the 27 that we offer today, and very, very much so objective driven.
Thank you. Okay. And here's a question about mobile. In doing my research for today, I think it's something like 700 million of your 1.1 billion active monthly users are getting to Facebook on a mobile device. Is there any sort of, one quick fix or one thing advertisers should be doing to take advantage of Facebook's massive mobile audience?
The one-word answer is newsfeed. So that is the key to getting your message in front of your users on our native experiences on mobile devices. When you use a page post ad or an unpublished page post ad, those are targeted in the newsfeed, and that a user can experience that both on the desktop as well as in our native app devices. So again, encourage all of you to think about moving your existing right-hand side spend into the newsfeed.
Great, great. Thank you for that. This question is for Anil. Anil, how different is the Facebook workflow in Marin from my search workflow that I'm very comfortable using today?
A lot of the workflows that you are used to in search should work with Facebook. So a typical workflow in search would be if you want to create or manage your campaigns on bulk, you would use a bulk sheet. The same thing works for Facebook. All the multi-edits and the cloning and the copies, all the workflows that you're used to with search is available. But what we've done is, because the complexities and the nature of Facebook is different, we've added on tools to make it easier. So this is an opportunity to start to look at them, and in many cases, in some cases, it will be definitely useful. But if you have use cases or infrastructure or process in place which is already fine-tuned for search, and you want to take advantage of the same process, it should just work for Facebook as well.
Great. And a follow-up to that. So the Marin tool is fantastic, but the Facebook management tool, from this questioner, they like the Facebook management tool. So what are the enhancements that Marin does in addition to what the Facebook management tool provides?
We focus a lot on, like, for example, probably everything I showed today is very different and doesn't exist with the Facebook Power Editor. Okay. And again, I want to caution with this question, right? So there's always this preference and style when it comes to campaign, all marketers. And in some cases, the scale doesn't exist. If you're managing a few campaigns, it's perfectly reasonable and all right to just expect to work with Facebook Power Editor. It is a very good tool. It does a lot of things, and I think that's the right mix. But when you start to think about working with scale, you could spend a lot of human resources managing those campaigns, and that's where we can help. So, for example, things like, how do you provide a holistic view of your campaign performance in context with your revenue and conversions? We can provide that complete experience, whether you want to deal with bulk creation with all the different ways and the variations that we provided with. Currently doesn't exist. I'm sure it's probably something that's going to come up in the future. And all the optimization techniques which we talked about, whether you want to increase the life of your campaign, or want to do A/B testing, or want to do things like bid optimization. These are all things which are very critical depending on how you think about scaling your business. And again, I'm not going to blankly say that this is going to work for everybody, and every workflow is unique. I'd love to understand where you come from, and happy to talk more about it. But broadly speaking, pretty much everything I presented today, we're focusing mainly on the power user who are looking to scale their business. But if it may not be the perfect fit for every single use case.
Okay. Here's a very specific question, which I think is for Jeremy. We've seen success with Facebook Newsfeed, but can't get volume. Can you offer any recommendations?
Sure. So, I mean, without knowing the specifics of the campaign, I think the one suggestion would be, if you haven't already, to test unpublished page posts, right? So if you're just looking at using your existing page posts to get into the news feed, the volume and the reach of that is inherently limited by the number of fans on your page, whereas and their connections, whereas unpublished page posts allow you to have a much broader targeting criteria. So to the extent that you are looking for prospective users or new users, and you have a good sense of what your existing customer looks like, running an unpublished page post allows you to expand that targeting criteria beyond just fans or friends of fans. So again, without knowing the specifics, that would be my one suggestion, to take a look there.
Okay, right. Thank you. Here's a question about custom audiences. Do custom audiences become stale after a certain amount of time? Do they need to be updated in order to consistently reach the right audience?
So happy to take a stab at this, Anil, and then I don't know if you want to fill in the gaps. I mean, the short answer is yes. And we are working on ways to make this a little bit more of a seamless process. But yeah, I mean, when you upload the audience, it's essentially a snapshot in time of your existing customer base, and it won't capture new customers or customers that have churned. So we do recommend that advertisers update it fairly regularly, and it varies by business, varies by vertical, but it is something that you should actively maintain. And again, it's something that we're working on to make the process a little bit easier to handle.
Right. Just to add to that, we've been looking at ways in which we can add value over and above what Facebook already does with custom audience management. I think this is one area where we feel we can do a lot more in the product. Right now, this is where I'm switching from, hey, here is the product, shiny and everything, great, use it, to switching over to talking about what we have in future. So this is where we're trying to look at ways in which we can almost take a feed from you guys, which represents your CRM data feed, and it can have all the status about what the current status of the customer is and what's going on. And you can define all these rules, and we can make sure that the custom audiences are up to date and synced up all the time on your behalf versus having to manually update them. So look out for something of that kind of a capability in the product that's going to streamline and help scale managing custom audiences in the future coming out of Marin.
Okay, so I think that's the last question we have time for. There's a few more questions that we'll follow up with individually. But thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Anil, for some great content. And as you can tell, there was a lot of content presented today. Some of it rather quickly. So please do reach out to your AM or your OMM to get more information. So we have a lot of expertise in-house and with our partners at Facebook. And our whole goal is to increase your effectiveness and optimize. So please do reach out. Jeremy, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thanks again. I think it was great to have the time, and appreciate everyone setting it aside. And Again, really excited to have this partnership with Marin. I think we're very much so aligned in the opportunity and want to help our mutual customers realize it.
Right. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for making this meeting, and thank you all for participating in this as well. I'm really excited about all the opportunities that's come out of some of the innovation that's come out of Facebook, and also things that we've done within Marin, and would love to talk to you guys and see if you have ideas or need suggestions. Happy to help however we can. I'll look forward to working with you guys all.
Great. And we'll have this recorded presentation posted on Zendesk within a week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.